List, where we review, discuss, and reimagine popular movie lists objectively. We're your hosts. I'm Brad.
And I'm Jerry, and today we're going to talk about Brad's number 7 on his top 20 favorite movies list. And his number 7 is Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Released in 2016, directed by Gareth Edwards, written by Chris Weitz, Tony Gilroy, and John Knoll, edited by John Gilroy, Colin Goody, and Jabez Elzin, starring Felicity Jones, Diego Luna, and Alan Tudyk, and Donnie Yen. This movie is about, in a time of conflict, a group of unlikely heroes band together on a mission to steal the plans to the Death Star, the Empire's ultimate weapon of destruction. So this is on Brad's list because, duh, Star Wars, right? And I think that it's the storyline and the characters are very, very powerful in this movie. And it's basically a story that is just this one niche in this universe that happened. And I think the reason why you really loved it is because it's done really well. Mm-hmm. And it's able to make you care about these people and get involved, even though you know how it's going to end.
That's part of it. So, sorry kids, we're going to have to get a little political here for a moment. We're going to go back to 2016, and this movie came out in December of 2016. Mm-hmm. You might go back a month to November of 2016 to remember what happened in the United States, where half the company went full retard and voted for Donald Trump, one of the worst presidents in the history of this country, who has completely divided this country, continues to do so to this day. And because we weren't dumb enough, we doubled down and we voted for him again. But anyway, so quick on the heels of basically the first thought in, my nearly 50 years at that point was, I'm actually going to live through democracy in this country dying. We might be headed to a civil war. It really felt like that at the time. And I still think there's still kind of elements of that. I think that's eased quite a bit, because I think even the people on that side have kind of realized they've made a mistake at this point. But anyway, but at the time it really seemed like we were heading in a really, really bad place in this country, and there was just a dark shroud over it, and we were going to have an autocratic government, much like the Empire in Star Wars. Mm-hmm. And it just kind of hit me like my political leanings have really always been kind of formulated by Star Wars. You grow up, with this rebellious mindset because you were part of the rebellion. Mm-hmm. And I was just kind of, for the first time in my life, I'm like, am I really going to have to die for democracy? Is it really come to that? Are we really gonna have to do this again? And it's like, am I prepared for that? And I just kind of realized, you know what? Yeah, I am. And I've always been prepared for that because of Luke Skywalker and Han Solo and Princess Leia. But it's not them. It's the Jyn Ersos and the Cassian Andors. The people who are really behind the guy, who did the stuff that you have to do in a rebellion, and the ones who ultimately pay the price with their life. Mm-hmm. This movie hit me right in the heart. And then on top of that, during one of these viewings, literally while I was in the movie theater, Carrie Fisher died.
Yeah.
So, there was a whole hot mess of emotion going on with me when this movie came out. I saw this movie in the theater, I think 15 times, something like that. I just kept going back. In the whole Star Wars canon, the stuff that really speaks to me is the stuff that happens during the Galactic Civil War. So, the stuff that happens basically immediately after Episode 3 up until Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
So that whole 22 year period really strikes me as, the formation of the rebellion, the stuff the little pockets of rebels up until, the point of this movie, which is like the first really large scale incursion between the Rebel Alliance and the Empire. This is like the very first major battle in the Galactic Civil War, and I think it's like the third act of this movie, I will argue, is the best third act in the history of motion pictures. There are a lot of problems with this movie. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. If you know anything about the behind the scenes stuff, this movie was an absolute mess of a movie to be made. Tony Gilroy was brought in to basically, redirect a large portion of it. He's given like a writing credit, but he did some, additional directing and stuff. The movie's kind of taken away from Gareth Edwards. But the end product is really, really good. They do a really good job of integrating, little canon things that a lot of people that aren't real huge Star Wars fans might miss. And it won't diminish what they see, but there's so much cool stuff in there. Like the guy who was Red 5, he dies in this movie. That's the call sign that Luke Skywalker takes up in Star Wars A New Hope. That's why it's open, because this guy died. They found footage of, Red Leader and Gold Leader from, the late 70s when, they were from like 1976 when they were shooting the original Star Wars. It's not new footage. It's footage that they had, and they brought those guys back to do some ADR. And they got the guy who did Red Leader just before he passed away. Like, he passed away right before this movie came out, but he was able to come back in and do some ADR to fill in the gaps on his stuff, because he was still alive at the time. Just little stuff like that. There's just all sprinkled throughout. It's just a really, really well done movie. It's grittier than most Star Wars, which is why a lot of people like the Andor series, which takes one of the characters from this movie and goes back a little bit further back in time to see how he became involved with the rebellion.
Yeah.
Second season's gonna, we're filming this in January of 2025. The second season of Andor comes out in a couple months in April. So we'll kind of get to see that series butt up right up against this movie. This movie answers kind of a little bit of a interesting question, is like, how did they get the plans to the Death Star that we see them talking about in the first few minutes of Star Wars A New Hope, and how did they, kind of figure out how to battle this basically impossible battle station, how they were able to take it down. This movie just really, really hits me emotionally. I know a lot of people are not huge fans of the newer Star Wars movies.
This is, in my opinion, the best one.
It's by far the best one of all of them.
Of all the new movies. And not, the TV's a whole different ballgame, but this movie, to me, is the best one out of the newer movies.
Yeah, and I was really excited, too, coming out of the gate, because we got The Force Awakens, which is a really good movie. Mm-hmm. And then the next year, we get this movie.
Yes.
And then the year after that, there's a lot of people that don't like The Last Jedi. I think it's a freaking masterpiece. But anyway, really, so we got those three like right in a row, right out of the game. Like, oh, this is going somewhere. Things have kind of changed since then, but that's a whole other story. But this movie is really, really emotional for me in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I feel like it's really good. It feels within the universe. The character chemistry, the actor chemistry is really, really well done. It really feels like a war movie to me, set in space.
It's a heist movie, too.
It's a heist movie. Tudyk, as K2SO,
he's just amazing.
Great. He's such a good actor.
Yeah. Everyone get like Chirrut and Baze. Those performances are great. Donnie Yen is just amazing. For
me, there's 2 times in the Star Wars universe where I cried.
Okay.
One was when Obi-Wan Kenobi realizes that Anakin killed all the
kids.
Just the emotion he went through made me cry. And then this movie. And that's when Chirrut dies and his friend goes out to get him to be with him as he's dying. That made me bawl. That made me cry. It was beautiful.
They did a lot of ballsy stuff in this movie, like basically killing off every one of your main characters. The one thing I wish they would have done is, instead of coding those characters as gay, is just made them gay.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's pretty obvious they're partners in life, so it's like just have the balls to do. Like, if you're gonna write that into the story, just write it into the story.
I think Disney is getting better at doing things like that.
I don't think they are at all. They're still coding stuff. I don't think they do that at all. No.
That's too bad. Anyway, that's my favorite part of the movie. It makes me very emotional watching that. This movie is great. It's, like I said, well acted, interesting, war movie. Really, The Force Awakens is great, like Brad said. It's kind of got the same sort of feel as our original movies, so it wasn't like new.
Yeah, and I think they did a good job of making the technology look like this could have been set up with A New Hope. So that's a really hard thing to do, to have basically like almost 50 years of technological advancements to a movie, and then making basically a direct prequel to that movie. I mean, this movie literally
runs right into it.
Butts up against.
And I have to say, like, besides Rebels, the TV show, animated show Rebels, this is probably the best, like, after the fact Darth Vader appearance. Like
that's the scariest Darth Vader is on screen until Kenobi.
Yes.
Which is also he is a, you know why he is like this boogeyman to these people. And it's just like, you just see in the dark his red lightsaber light up, and then he just starts
killing people.
He just starts mowing through these guys, and you understand why, because you don't see a lot of it in the first movie.
Mm-mm.
A lot of it is, he kills a guy in a staff meeting.
Yeah.
Which,
chokes him out.
Who hasn't wanted to choke someone in a staff meeting before?
All the time.
Like vibes, I get it. But, you see, a lightsaber battle with him and a geezer, basically, that, it's just kind of there. You don't really see the sheer evil power of him like you do in this movie.
Yeah.
It hits me on a lot of levels. I really enjoy it. I will watch this movie anytime it's on. I will turn it on at any time. It's one of my favorite Star Wars experiences. I know it's not, for everyone, but I just think it's a really, really great movie, and has no right being, based on all the stuff that happened behind the scenes and the way they had to
they really pulled it together.
The way they had to Frankenstein this thing together. If you don't think Kathleen Kennedy is a great producer, then you haven't seen this movie, because this movie has no business working.
Yeah. So overall, I give it a 76.8. It would be on my list for sure, in my top 100. It's a great movie. Yeah, there are some things that are a little but overall, it's a great story, and it's really good, and I really liked the main characters. It really sucks that Jyn Erso dies in this movie, because I think she would have been a good addition.
And if you like books, there's a book called Catalyst, which it's not necessary to really enjoy this movie, but it really does enrich the experience. It's about Jyn's dad and Orson Krennic, and how the Death Star actually gets made.
Yeah.
It's really, really interesting, and how her dad kind of becomes the character that he becomes throughout. It's a really interesting, and it ties stuff to the prequels a little bit too as well, which is really cool. I can't wait to see both seasons of Andor. I want to watch both seasons of Andor, this movie, and then A New Hope, and I want to do it all at once. I want to do it like all in a day. I don't know if I'll be able to do that. A
day?
I'm going to try it.
Okay. All right. Well.
Who needs to eat?
Right. Okay, so let us know your thoughts on Rogue One. What does this movie mean to you? Please put this in the comments. If you are enjoying our videos, please like and subscribe to our channel. The more viewers, the better. And if you want to talk to us directly, please do so at ratingthelist@gmail.com. But for now, I'm Jerry. I'm one with the Force. The Force is with me. I have it on my arm. Yeah. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.